Hello and welcome back to Ranting with Controversy. I'm your main man, Ranting with Controversy Eds. Alongside me is my colleagues.
Ranting with Controversy, Garrett.
RWC Sauce, Rants. What up?
Yeah, we got Sal's on for today's podcast, so you know what that means. We got some mock drafts for you today. All right, I think we're going to get right into it. Now, this is a very weird year. I'm interested to see how they're going to set up for COVID because obviously I assume that all the players are going to be vaccinated, but I'm not entirely sure about that.
I think I saw that
But
Caleb
beyond that,
Farley was going to be out.
Yeah, I saw that too.
yeah, that's disappointing for him. And the other thing that we just saw is Teddy Bridgewater just got traded. So it might impact my mocks. It's not going to impact mine. I still think that if there's a quarterback that they like at 10, they're not going to – or 9, they're not going to pass on him. So who knows? All right, but let's get right into it. With the first pick, I think that everyone has them taking Trevor Lawrence by now.
Obviously,
Yep.
yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. There's probably going to be some consensus for the first 3 picks. So second pick – everyone has Zach Wilson, I assume.
Yep.
Yeah. And just to break down both these first 2 picks, obviously they're kind of the consensus top 2 quarterbacks in this class, depending on who you ask. I've seen Lance mocked at number 2. I think that's kind of absurd. I've seen Fields mocked at number 2. I've seen Fields mocked at like in the 29 or something like that. So it's a bit confusing to me because this class is very deep in quarterback. So, going with a guy like Zach Wilson at number 2 makes a lot of sense, but at the exact same time, there's a potential that you're missing on a better quarterback than he is, just like with the Mitch Trubisky deal with the Bears. So this is going to be interesting to see how these rookies pan out.
Oh, yeah, I agree.
I agree.
Mm-hmm.
And after talking to a few draft analysts too, I think that there is some form of consensus surrounding Trevor Lawrence that he could be slightly more overrated than he actually is. It's difficult with him because he's been touted as a number 1 overall pick since he was probably 15 or 16
3 years.
Yeah. So with him, there's no real consensus over whether he's overrated or underrated, but many people do think that he's slightly overrated. All right, going to San Francisco. I am taking Mac Jones. I'm not sure if you guys have taken him too.
I had that too. Yeah.
So
I
we're in
think Justin
agreement
Fields
there
is a
as
better
well.
player, though.
Yeah, what I would say is this pick doesn't make sense to me. I think it's going to happen. That's why I mocked it. But if I was drafting for the 49ers, I'd be going with Fields because I think that he's better throwing off the boot, and that's what they love to do. I think he's just a scheme fit, but Shanahan might be able to kind of scheme and maneuver his offense to fit Mac Jones's best abilities.
Yeah, no, I think it's weird that they traded up with Mac Jones in mind. I thought he would slip. But it seems like they had him in mind at first. I know they could pick Trey Lance, which could shake up things a lot. I think Mac Jones is system ready. I think he's a good IQ. I think he can work well with Shanahan. I mean, the Niners have so many weapons, like good O-line, Kittle, Deebo Samuel, Ayuk had a good year. So I think he's set up well.
Yeah, I think that they could use maybe one more wide receiver, but he'll definitely be set up well for what he's used to. Moving right on to number 4, Atlanta. This is probably where we're going to have some some disagreements. I have been taking Justin Fields.
I have Kyle Pitts.
That's interesting.
You got Pitts?
I have Pitts too.
Okay.
I think
he's the best player on the board.
I get that. At the same time, they have Hayden Hurst, and he looked really good last year. Yeah. Or at least he looked pretty solid.
Pitts as a receiver, too.
Yeah, but
he's
at the same
Russell
time,
Gage.
Gage is pretty decent, to be honest. And I don't buy the Julio shit. I think that's just all smoke and mirrors. But at the same time, I like the kind of hometown connection. I mean, he's from Georgia. It makes sense that he would be going to Atlanta. And, you want a guy that's going to be a little bit raw but has a lot of potential so that if Matt Ryan, he gets injured or he retires or he's just not good anymore, you've got that next guy up.
You really think it'd be Fields over Lance, though?
Yeah.
I mean, Lance, I think, might have the most potential in the class, and Matt Ryan's at least there for 2 more years because of his contract.
Right, but at the same time, if you got a guy like Fields that's been solid in college, he's not a perennial winner, but he was really solid and led Ohio State to a lot of success. and he's a home state kid. I think you got to take him. Similar to how if Mariota was from Florida, the Bucks definitely would have taken him. But because you had the hometown connection with Jameis Winston, they obviously took Winston. I mean, it was a mistake, but still. All right, moving right along to number 5. We might have some agreement with this one. I have Penny Sewell to the Cincinnati
Ooh,
Bengals.
I have Jamar Chase.
I could see Jamar Chase. I could see that. I
Yeah,
think you gotta just
that
protect Burrow.
and Chase. But
Yeah.
I think Sewell will be a better pick, but I don't know. I guess Joe Burrow's lobbying for Jamar Chase.
Well, didn't they just they didn't put their 5th-year option on that offensive lineman, Billy Price. So I assume that they're kind of clearing up some space to draft Sewell because he's the best offensive tackle prospect that we've seen in years, maybe since Larry Tunsil. And I think if you got a guy like Joe Burrow, he could be a perennial Pro Bowler, but if this injury continues and it kind of becomes like a nagging thing that he can't stay healthy, that's a bust. That's a wasted number 1 overall pick. So you got to get him some protection.
Do you think they
My
move
first trade at number
Sewell?
6.
Because then they have 2 tackles, right? Jonah Williams, and they signed Ronnie
Jonah's
Reed.
trash.
So
Jonah's not
Hi,
good.
Jonah.
I mean, he
And he is
played
young.
guard in college too, so you could potentially move him inside and have him play guard. But Jonah's measurables aren't great. He has some short arms, so that's not great for being a left tackle. And then also he had that injury prior to his rookie year, which kind of threw him off, and he's not been the same Jonah Williams since. All right, well, moving right along to number 6, we got Miami. Who do you guys got taken?
I have a trade here. So I have the Texans trading 6-18, the Texans receiving 6-18 and a round 1 next year, and Tua Tagovailoa. And then I have the Dolphins receiving Deshaun Watson and a 2nd-round pick. And then
Solid trade.
the Texans are going to take Devontae Smith because of the Tua and Devonta partnership, and they have chemistry. And yeah, that's my pick.
I don't know. I don't know if I can see that trade happening. I mean, I don't even know. We don't know what can happen with the legal
Possible.
stuff, and then do they still like Tua? I mean, Tua didn't have a great season, but
This was
I
made
think
after
I have been
Edwards
going. I've been
thought-
going Chase. So
You have
I
been
just think
going
they go
Chase
best
here.
receiver.
Yeah.
Best receiver. And Chase is ridiculous.
Yeah. So this is where I had some difficulties with this draft because although I would kind of like to have that dynamic of them trading Watson because I feel like they make the draft really interesting. I said on yesterday's pod, I think that it happens by the draft. Well, it's looking slightly more ominous by the day. And that's not a good thing if you're Houston because Miami has the number 6 overall pick. And if you trade Watson and he plays for Miami, he's probably going to be on an 11-16, potentially competing for a Super Bowl. And so it's difficult if you're in Houston's situation because you want to get the maximum value out of Watson. But at the same time, you want to get those top picks, so you might have to make a compromise. So that's why I have Miami actually sitting here. And I think that if they do trade for Watson, it'll be post June 1st because the cap goes down if by that point. They'll have some time to restructure deals to fit in Watson's cap space. They'll have a good idea of what picks they have for next year. So that makes sense to me, and that makes the most sense. And I don't think that they get Tua either. That's one thing which, to my understanding, they don't like Tua. They don't like his skills as a quarterback. They don't like how limited he is. And he needs a certain scheme and a certain skill set with his receivers to perform well. And I think that Nick will most likely go in his own direction with the quarterback position, which could mean, tanking for the number 1 overall pick and drafting one next year.
Sam Howell,
for this
though?
pick, Sam Howell looks pretty good to me, but we'll see how that pans out. But for the number 6 pick, I have Miami sitting and drafting Devonta Smith. And the reason is the instant Tua connection makes him the most likable prospect on the board for me. And he has the skill sets that Tua needs to do well in an offense. He's fast. He creates a lot of separation, and he's going to be burning people on those deep routes.
Wait, so you have Pitts falling past 6, you think?
I do. I have Pitts.
That's
I
interesting.
have Pitts falling a little bit more. I don't think that there's a team that necessarily needs a tight end more than other positions. And there's so much talent in this class that I can't see him getting picked like top 5 unless Atlanta picks him up. All right, moving right along to Detroit. Who do you guys have the Lions taking?
I have Waddle.
You got Waddle here.
I
them
got
taking-
Fields.
Got Fields?
I know they traded
Oh.
for Goff. I got Fields. I know they got Goff, but like I know they lost Galladay, but I think Fields, if he's here, he's too. He's so talented as a player.
I get that.
I don't
get
see.
that.
Yeah, or I could see a trade happening here. Maybe they look, oh, maybe we don't like the other 2 receivers, whatever. We could trade it, but I mean, Fields is really good. Like,
Yeah.
Any
Talented.
receiver left on their board is automatically like their wide receiver 1, though, I think.
Yeah, I have taken Jamar Chase. I think that's a solid pick for them because to me, he's the number 1 wide receiver on the board, and maybe the number 1 wide receiver that we've seen since Julio Jones. He's so talented. He goes great with jump balls. He's so athletic. He's a great route runner. He's the total package. And if you got a guy like Goff who's going to need somebody that can create plays in the open field and go up and get that jump ball, I think that replacing Kenny Galladay with Jamar Chase is a pretty good trade-off. And number 8, Carolina. You guys asked about Pitts. That's where I have him going. They just signed Dan Arnold, but I looked at their tight end depth chart.
I hate Dan Arnold so much, bro. He dropped a touchdown in the NFC Championship game, and then
And then
Oh, yeah.
the whole pass interference thing happened. Yeah. So yeah, I'm taking Pitts. Their tight end depth chart does not look good, and they're a team that I think could use that other weapon if they're going to be having a guy like Sam Darnold. And I think that at this point, he's the consensus top player on everybody's board. So it makes sense to me that they would take Pitts if they're just looking for the best player available, which I think that Carolina's kind of in that position.
so I had them taking Sewell for the same reason because he's the best player available in my mock draft right now. And if they really want like Sam Darnold to be like their quarterback of the future, they definitely need to protect him. They don't really have a great offensive line, so I think Sewell improves it.
Yeah, no, I think if they get Pitts, like that offense is good. I know they lost Curtis Samuel, but you can snatch one of these fast receivers late in the round. That offense would be deadly. I have them going Slater because I have Sewell off the board, but I think Slater is fantastic as well. Protect Sam Darnold, make it so much easier for him. Yeah.
And by the way, you guys want to know who locked down Chase Young in college? Rashawn Slater.
Slater.
Slater, in my mind, is not that far behind Penei Sewell in talent. It's just a matter of coaching. If he gets the right coaching, he could be a better tackle than Sewell is. And number 9,
I think
we got
all have
Denver.
the same one here. I think so.
Yeah. Trey Lance?
I have Justin Fields because I haven't had him drafted
You
yet.
got Fields.
No,
What do you got, Saz?
I got Micah Parsons. I got Micah
Mm.
Parsons.
You got Parsons.
Like a
Talented.
person falls in mine a lot.
Yeah, no, I can see him fall. I can see him fall. But the Broncos, that defense, and then you get another fast linebacker. I think that I like it. I like it a lot.
Yeah, I would say with Lance, I had him going to Denver pre-Teddy Bridgewater trade, and I still think that they're going to draft Lance if he's available, because Bridgewater, he's exactly what his name says. He's a bridge quarterback. He's not going to be the guy that's going to win you a Super Bowl. He's not going to be the guy that puts you over the edge and can lead you to 10, 11 wins per season. He's going to be the guy that comes in for 1-2 years, kind of steadies the ship, and puts up solid numbers. So if you want to draft the most raw quarterback in this class, but a guy that might have the highest potential, that's Trey Lance.
So wait, so what do you think about Locke? I mean, I think Teddy's coming in to back up, like be a great backup. Even compete for the starting job.
He'd
But I
be
think
a good
Locke still,
backup. Locke has demonstrated that he doesn't have the read of the field that everyone thought that he did. He's a tremendous athlete. He's tremendous talent, but he's way too loose with the ball. He's not understanding of letting plays continue and play out. He doesn't move off his first read too often, and he's limited a lot of their receiving talent. And number 10 with Dallas, This is actually one of my sleeper picks. A guy who I think has been criminally underrated during the draft process, but will probably sneak inside the top 10 is J.C. Horn. Dallas needs
Ooh,
a cornerback,
Yep,
and
yep,
J.C.
yep.
Horn
I like
could
that.
be the best corner in this class. He could be the best corner prospect since Jalen Ramsey, if I'm being honest.
I have them taking Patrick Surtain. I think he's just a little bit better than J.C. Horn, but I could see it going both ways. And yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I think no, like I heard J.C. Horn did well with the Cowboys interview. Also, like man to man wise, like yeah, exactly, could be another Jalen Ramsey. I know Sertain, is also great, more ready, but I think J.C. Horn could develop like really well, really.
Surtain reminds me a little bit of like the cornerback equivalent of Trevor Lawrence, where everybody thought that coming out of high school he was going to be like a top 5 pick, but he's done well in college. He won a national title, but has he lived up to his hype and his expectation? Not entirely. So that's my opinion on him. I mean, granted, I'm a biased LSU fan, and I still hate him for decoing from LSU, but I've been impressed with him, but not impressed enough to have him as like a top 10 pick. Number 11, and this is where a bunch of our Giants friends are probably going to be really happy. I have the Giants taking Micah Parsons, and there's a man by the name Warnock that's going to be very happy about that because he's a Penn State and a New York Giants fan.
Yeah.
yeah, I have them taking Slater here. I think they don't really. Yeah, they need to protect Daniel Jones if they think he's the future, and he's, I think, the best lineman on my mock draft still available.
I can't see like if Slater falls to like 7 or 8, I could see the Vikings. I could see other teams trading up and getting him. I can't see that.
I
I
guess
wonder what
so.
you'll think
But
about
I
my
have
Vikings picks.
yeah. No, I like.
We'll see.
Yeah, we'll see what. But for the Giants, I got Waddle. He falls to 11. They snatch him up. That's just someone good after the catch. He can still run routes really well. Like their receivers do not run routes that well last year. My brother's a Giants fan, but Waddle's
So
snatch him up.
do you think I go with Waddle even though they just signed Kenny Galladay?
Oh yeah. No, I think it's still go Waddle. Get
Yeah.
some speed, get some.
Yeah.
Great
course.
after the catch. Waddle's still.
Darius Slayton is their wide receiver too, so I think Waddle's
Could
better
be.
than him, but that would be a pretty good wide receiver trio.
Oh yeah, it'd be a great pickup for them. I'm just
You
saying.
could also
Like,
just run Waddle in the slot too. Like that's killer.
yeah, yeah, but they could also use a defensive player, and if a guy like Micah Parsons is there, I don't see them passing on him. Especially for me, linebacker for them, and he reminds me a little bit of Isaiah Simmons out of Clemson, where he can play edge rusher, he can play linebacker, he can play safety, he can play all of the defense because his motor is so damn good. Um, but I think that if they got a guy like Parsons at 11, they would be over the moon. They would be thrilled with themselves. This is another pick that I have, which the
I
fan
have a
base
trade
would
here
love.
too.
You have a trade? Okay. Well, then why
Oh,
don't you give us that first?
yeah. Okay, so I have the Washington football team trading up, and the Eagles get to number 12. And the Eagles get 1951 and a round 3 next year. Then I have the Washington football team taking Trey Lance at number 12. And, well, I think he's better than any quarterback on their roster right now. And even if they signed Heineke back, the GOAT, but yeah, he has potential to be a very good quarterback, and I don't see them passing up on him because that's one of their biggest needs. So if they can trade up, I definitely think they will.
Right.
Yeah,
All right.
Trey
Well,
Lance falling as well.
you do.
No, yeah, I got the Eagles taking him. I mean, if he
Oh,
gets to
okay.
12, do they really
So we
do
got-
they really trust Hurts? It doesn't seem like they do.
I mean,
you see what Hurts can do,
who
but
knows?
I mean, Trey Lance is right there. Get
Yeah,
another
yeah, of course.
guy like Carson Wentz, in a sense, but more mobile. More dynamic, potential wise. Maybe doesn't even start. You can still start Hurts. I like Lance there to the Eagles.
Yeah, I still have Waddle on my board, and we all know about their needs when it comes to a receiver. Even though they drafted one in the first round last year, it's still like a horrible need for them. They're still terrible. So when you got a guy like Waddle on the board, you can't pass on him. I think it's simple as that. The explanation there is He's the best player available on the board, and he's in a position of great need for us. So they don't have to justify it. Their fans would probably love the pick because some guys have him being mocked at 6. So for them, it makes the most sense that any player on the board. Number 13. Now I have the Chargers picking Rashawn Slater. This is a pretty easy one for me. Slater kind of slid. He probably should have gone within the top 10. It's a big slide, but at the same time, there's just so many good skill position players in this draft class that I couldn't see Slater going inside the top 10. And the Chargers really, really need an offensive tackle. Like, really need an offensive tackle. Their offensive line was probably as good as Houston's 2 years ago. And if you got a guy like Slater who's going to come in and be a solid offensive tackle for you for probably 13 years, you got to take him.
Building off of that.
I think. All right.
Yes. Okay. Well, I have them taking Christian Darrisaw. I think they might reach for a tackle after Sewell and Slater are taken, and they definitely need to protect Herbert if they want to even be good for the next couple of years, or for the next 10 years. And I think Darrisaw is obviously a great player. He's probably more of like a late mid for 20s talent in the first round, but I think they might reach to get him just to make sure they have good protection for Herbert.
No, yeah. I got Devontae Smith kind of fell here to 13. I got the Chargers taking him. I know,
Devontae Smith.
Yeah, Devontae Smith, Keenan, Mike Williams can go up and get your ball. Like, that is, and like Herbert, I mean, that offense is great, I think. But Devontae Smith, if you fall him at 13, I could see him going higher. But I also could see him trading up and get Rashad, like Slater. If he falls, late ones, 8, 9 range, I can see the Chargers trading up for him. But also, I mean, if Devontae Smith falls here, you take Devontae Smith.
Right. Yeah, of course. I think that's kind of everyone's thinking there. If he's that good, he's a Heisman-winning wide receiver. You got to take him at 13. And number 14, Size. Let's see if you're happy with this one. What do you got, Garrett?
Yeah, I think we all might have the same guy here.
No, I don't think I went the same person. So I actually took Jalen Phillips here.
Ooh.
Edge. Okay.
I think he could definitely be like the number 1 edge in this draft class over people like Kwity Paye and Jason Owe. And I think he obviously he's very raw and he has a lot of potential. But at UCLA, all of his injuries, he had 2 concussions. They basically made him retire. So obviously it's a big risk pick. But I think the reward outweighs the risk if you take him at 14.
Yeah, I like that. Getting Daniel Hunter back, someone on the opposite side.
Yeah.
Good. I got him taking Barrett Tucker.
Oh, you got to take Barrett Tucker too. All right.
Yeah, I thought that's what everyone would have here. The versatility. We could play him at tackle, guard, get to Dakota Dozier out of there. I don't even know if we signed him back. I don't think so. But he's going to be good. Barrett Tucker's very versatile.
So he's a guy that is scouted very early on because he was a very interesting name. He's a guy that can slide all across the offensive line, really solid in the run game and pretty good in the passing game. My only knack on him was that he's a little bit he doesn't move well enough to play in a tackle position, but he moves all along the offensive line. You can play him at right tackle. You can play him at either guard position. You might be able to play him at center, but I don't think that's what you're going to do. And the Minnesota Vikings have struggled with offensive line for a long, long time. So getting a guy like Vera Tucker that's kind of plug and play, you can put him right guard, right tackle. That's exactly what they need. All right, and pick 15, New England. I have them getting the first – well, actually, this isn't really the first steal, but Pat Surtain falls to 15 and New England snaps him up. Get him, play him alongside J.C. Jackson.
Micah Parsons fell a lot in my draft, so I have them taking him here. And obviously, he's a great linebacker. People really say he's not good at coverage. He's more of an edge, or he's a very run. He's good at stopping the run. And I also think, I don't really agree with it, but people have his character issues as a little bit of a concern. I don't really think that story that came out was real or anything, or it probably happened, but I don't think it warrants him dropping all the way to 15, but maybe some teams think that. That's why I mocked him there.
Right.
Yeah,
The only
I mean,
concern with him, I mean, if we talked about the stuff that he's accused of on this podcast, it'd get demonetized on YouTube.
yeah, no, I don't know about all that. But yeah, Surtain dropping to 15 for me here. They take him. As Miller said, opposite. J.C. Jackson. I mean that. The Patriots. Bill Belichick can do a lot with that. Surtain's a great man-to-man corner. He'll cause a lot of problems.
All right, and we got pick number 16, Arizona here. This is the first real reach for me, which I don't even think is a reach, but people have him kind of sliding back because of injury concerns. I have taken Farley here. They just lost Patrick Peterson. They were probably hoping that Pat Surtain would fall to them, but you got to go with the next dude up, and you got to go with a dude like Farley because there was a point where he was projected to be a top 10 pick. It's just injury concerns and all that have kind of held him back. So if you got a guy like that at 16, I think you got to take him.
Yep. Yeah, Farley as well. They lost Pat Pete to Minnesota. That was a great steal, in my opinion. So you take Farley here, you replace that. Another talented. I really like the corners in these classes, at least the top 3. But yeah, you take Farley.
Yeah, I had J.C. Horn falling to 16 for the Cardinals. Obviously, like you just said, Peterson went to the Vikings. They don't really have anyone that great as a cornerback. Yeah, and J.C. Horn obviously could be cornerback 1 in this class. He's very close to Surtain, in my opinion. Holding's a bit of an issue, but I don't really think they call it that much in the NFL, like the way he plays. But yeah, I think it'd be honestly a steal for them to get him at 16.
Agreed. And we move on to the number 17 pick. Easily the most difficult pick to predict because it's the Raider unknown. And I have them reaching on a guy, per usual, like Greg Newsome out of Wake Forest. Greg Newsome, he's a good cornerback. That's one of the other needs, I think, because their cornerbacks, while they have some depth, they don't really have one star cornerback that can kind of go out there and lock dudes down. I took a look at the PFF grades of a few of their guys, and it's not positive. It's definitely not positive. And so when you got a guy like Newsome, he's an absolute freak of nature when it comes to his athletic ability. He seems to fit right in with the Raider unknown theme.
Yeah, we've seen a lot of reaches in the past for the Raiders. I'll
You can
go.
go.
So I have them taking Darisaw. I mean, obviously, 3 guys that are gone now on the offensive line. Hudson, Gabe Jackson, I think he's with Seattle, and Trent Brown with the Patriots. So you take a tackle here. Darisaw is very good. Another great tackle in this class. You take Darisaw. Rebuild the O-line.
Yeah, I have him taking Vera Tucker here. I guess he kind of slid. Well, he fits right in, I guess. They really have like Brandon Parker playing as a tackle on their team, and that's not very good. And I think Vera Tucker's obviously he's versatile. He can play anywhere on the line, and the Raiders' line isn't really necessarily that great. Like Colton Miller, he was a first-round pick. Richie Incognito's good. Nick Martin and Denzel Good. I haven't heard some of those people, so I think it
I've
would
heard of
be
Nick Martin.
yeah, it would be good to take
Excellent.
Vera Tucker there at 17.
Yeah, Nick Martin. I have a massive grudge against him because he's Zach Martin's brother, but he sucks. He fucked up multiple snaps for Houston, and he cost us a few games. So, uh, I definitely wouldn't be mad if I was a Raiders fan because you could be eliminating yourself from a bunch of pain with that man. All right. Speaking of Christian Darrisaw, I have number 18 Miami picking Christian Darrisaw. This is a good spot for him because they're in desperate need of a tackle in general ever since the Tunsil deal. They just needed a tackle. Tua had no help from his offensive line this year, and will probably have some next year. And Darrisaw to me is the number 4 tackle prospect in this class.
This is the aftermath of the Texans-Dolphins trade, so the Texans have this pick. And I have you guys going with Kwity Paye because obviously J.J. Watt went to the Cardinals, and you need someone to replace him. I think Paye's pretty good coming out of Michigan. He could start, obviously, day 1 in the Texans.
All right. Dolphins, Aziz Ojulari from Georgia, another edge. Carl Lawson is gone. Um, so I think you go Aziz, get some more edge. I think I could see him going out line. But I like Aziz. Aziz, I don't know if I'm pronouncing it right, but
No, you're pronouncing it right, and he's a really talented player. He, to me, could be easily a top two or maybe even the best edge rusher prospect in this draft class. I really, really like Aziz Ojulari. He's an athletic monster. He's a big dude. He's a fast dude, and he's going to be a monster in the NFL. He has a little brother at LSU too, who I think is going to be a first-round pick in a few years. All right. And number 19, we got the Washington football team, and I believe somebody also has it as the Philadelphia Eagles. I have the Washington football team going with Jeremiah Owusu-Karamoah, and
Notre Dame.
they need a linebacker. Like they really need a linebacker, and he's easily the best middle linebacker prospect in this draft class. So it makes the most sense, speaking from a position of need. Yeah, that's to me the best pick on the board for them.
football team, yeah, I'm gonna Taven Jenkins, offensive tackle, Oklahoma State. I think they could use O-line, protect. I guess Fitz. I don't know. We'll see who their starter is. Yeah, Taven Jenkins.
So
So-
I have the Eagles because of my
So, yeah.
trade, and they're going to take a receiver in Rashad Bateman here. And I think coming out of Minnesota, he's obviously a really good route runner. He has good hands, and they just need a receiver because they haven't been able to draft anyone the last couple of years. And I think Rashad Bateman's kind of like a safe pick to be a pretty good receiver in the league.
Yeah, Bateman's very good. He's a big-bodied dude that can kind of go up and get that jump ball, and that's something that the Eagles could use. Just a guy that's going to be a solid player for them for the next 4 or 5 years, and maybe beyond that. All right, and number 20, the Chicago Bears. This is a team where they could easily reach on a quarterback, but I think that they got to play it safe for the first round and take a guy that's going to be solid at tackle for them for the next few years. I got them taking Samuel Cosmi out of Texas.
This is interesting. I think we were just talking about him. I think this guy could be a real steal. I don't know. I just feel like the Bears could use. I mean, they got Allen Robinson. You know I'm going here. Rashad Bateman. They got Allen Robinson. But you can get a big target. He can go up and get any ball. I don't know why. I mean, he's a freak of nature. I like him. I think he's kind of like Jamar Chase in a sense. Yeah.
I have them taking Greg Newsome here. They let go of Fuller, and he got signed by the Broncos, and their best corner right now is like Bryce Callahan or something. And Greg Newsome's obviously very athletic, and he can shut people down, like the Ohio State game. And yeah, he fits their team pretty well. They need a corner.
All right, and moving on to 21, this is going to be the second tackle in a row that I have taken. I have Indiana taking my number 3 draft prospect when it comes to the tackle position in Alex Leatherwood. Leatherwood is a tremendously talented tackle out of the University of Alabama. I've been monitoring him ever since high school because he's easily one of the most talented prospects that I've ever seen. It's just a matter of effort and coaching. And for him, if he gets in the right system, if he gets the right coaching, he could be a stud in the NFL for years to come.
I have the Saints trading up here. We get 21, and the Colts get our first round pick 28 in a round 3 next year. And we take Caleb Farley. We let go of Janoris Jenkins, and our next corner is PJ Williams, who basically lost us the second Vikings game in the playoffs. And he's pretty much a safety and a linebacker who's going to be playing cornerback if we don't take one. So Caleb, and obviously Caleb Farley. Also, like the top 3 corners are interchangeable in the draft. So Caleb Farley, he could be CB1, he be CB3, but if he falls to 21, I think the Saints definitely are going to trade up for him. And there was also reports that the Saints were thinking about doing this and trading up. They had to get ahead of the Titans, though, to get him.
Yeah, no, all right. Indianapolis, I think the Colts are a really good team. I think Carson Wentz can play well there. And they don't, to me, they don't have too many needs. I think they have a great defense, great O-line, pretty decent receivers. Quarterback is solid. I think they go Kwity Paye at another edge. See what you can get potential-wise. Someone to bring on that defense, that great defense. Kwity Paye.
I think it's a solid pick for them too, considering if they just lost their number one D end option. So Kwity Paye, obviously he's an athletic freak, but he's going to be a guy that can rush from the inside from like a 3-tech position, and maybe a dude that can come off the edge really well. And moving on to number 22, I have the Tennessee Titans going with Kadarius Toney. You got a guy like A.J. Brown, who's a big body dude. You got a guy like Adam Humphries that's kind of like a slot possession receiver. And you just lost Corey Davis, who was another possession receiver. So what do you go with? You go with that short, fast guy that's going to be able to stretch the field and take some attention off of A.J. Brown.
Yeah, I like that pick a lot, but I think with the Titans, no more Malcolm Butler. I mean, Jonathan Joseph wasn't great anyway. He's gone. I think you go Greg Newsome. You guys already talked about him. Great player. Can fit that corner spot well. You know that Malcolm Butler's gone now. I like that pick. I think they go need there.
Yeah, I have them taking someone we talked about on the podcast last time, Terrace Marshall. Yes, sir.
That's my guy.
He's obviously, very underrated. I think it might be a little bit of a reach at 22. Maybe he's early second round. But it feels like they don't have really anyone that can play on the other side of A.J. Brown. Like Humphreys is like a small dude. He can't really play on the outside. So I think Terrace Marshall, he has size, he has speed, he has hands, and they need a receiver to be able to play on the other side.
And I will definitely agree with you that he'd be a great pick there. But for me, in any other draft class, if Devonta Smith and Waddle were absent, he would probably be wide receiver number 2 on my board. He's a dude that, because of circumstances, has not gotten too much attention, even though he absolutely balled out for LSU for the games that he played. And he's a dude that's going to be an instant impact on every offense that he comes into. And I could talk for hours about him, but to say it simply, he can play football. Number 23, we got the second pick of the New York Jets, and they need a cornerback. So I'm going to have them taking the younger Melifonwu brother. I believe his name is Ifeatu Melifonwu.
South Carolina, right?
Really?
He's a Syracuse guy, actually.
Oh, that's a bit of a reach in my opinion.
Oh,
I have
yes,
them taking
total reach.
Jason Owe, because they obviously signed Carl Lawson to play on the edge. But at the same time, on the other side of him, they have Vinny Curry starting. So I think Owe is obviously an improvement over Vinny Curry a little bit. And he could start day one and make an impact.
New York Jets. I got him taking Samuel Cosme. Could play him obviously outside of Mekhi Becton. I don't know if you like George Fant that much, for the Jets. You get a young, great tackle core for Zach Wilson. I mean, that's what you want. That's what you need. You take tackle. You take Cosme now.
Solid picks, guys. Number 24, I'm sure that our guy Cy might be happy listening to this, but I have the Pittsburgh Steelers going with Najee Harris, running back out of Alabama. Najee is unfortunately in a position that is not very highly picked in the NFL, but he is a stud, to say the least. He's athletic. He has incredible balance. He has just that natural vision of the field. He can jump over guys like it's nothing. He's powerful as all hell. He's the total package when it comes to a running back. He's essentially Derrick Henry, but with better hands.
Yeah, for a rushing attack, I think it was like 30th in the league. You go Najee Harris here. That's a great pick. Obviously, James Conner's gone, but he didn't do too much. So you got Najee Harris, Alabama. He's a stud. He's a freak, as you just said. You saw him jumping over dudes in the championship game. That was cool. I think you go Najee Harris here. Get that run game. If you can get the run game well, it eases it for an old Ben Roethlisberger. I think the Steelers should go in there. I know Sires, we were just talking about him. He wants him to go. He told me that. Could go offensive line, but I think they should go.
Yeah, I have them going offensive line. Tevin Jenkins. They have Chukwuma Okorafor playing tackle right now. And yeah, never heard of him before I looked up their depth chart either. And a lot of their offensive linemen kind of retired this past offseason, so they need help there. I think it might help Ben play a little bit longer if he has another great tackle on his defensive line. And they might be pretty good for a couple more years and then onto another quarterback. And Tevin Jenkins will still be on the team, and that quarterback can get some good protection too.
And a name to look out for at pick number 25 or 24, sorry about that, is Landon Dickerson. He's a dude that I rate very highly in this draft class. He's an absolute animal on the offensive line. Has some injuries concerns because of his recent injuries, but he's a dominant center that's going to be all powerful and is going to be an impact in the run game and the pass game. And they're in desperate need of a center. But for me, if you got a guy like Najee, you got to take him. And if you need a running back really badly, which the Steelers definitely do, you got to take Najee Harris. Number 25, the second pick for the Jaguars. There's a guy sliding right now because recent reports of his lack of coachability, apparently, and that's Christian Barmore. Barmore is a dominant defensive lineman who, like I said, because of his personality, has apparently been sliding down draft boards. But if you're the Jacksonville Jaguars, you got an experienced coach like Urban Meyer. I think you got to snap him up because he's easily one of the most talented defensive players in this class. It's just a matter of coaching, as most rookies are.
Yeah, I got Christian Barmore too. Speaking of coaching, I mean they got Urban Meyer. He can help him a lot. Of the Jags, go D tackle here. I mean D tackle in this class, everyone's saying interior D line is not there's not much depth. There's not much depth there, but I think he's definitely the best. It will help Urban Meyer, help the Jags defense. You go interior D line, Christian Barmore.
I have them taking Trayvon Moehrig, the safety. They don't have any good safeties on their roster right now. Like Rayshawn Jenkins is starting at strong safety and Gerard Wilson at free safety. And Trayvon Moehrig is very versatile. He's great in coverage, great in zone coverage. And yeah, I think it's pretty much a need pick, but yeah, I think he fits there.
At number 26, we got the Cleveland Browns. This, for me, is a very interesting pick because they're a team that does not need enough or not need a lot. So what do? You go with the most talented player on the board, and that is Azeez Ojulari for me. Obviously, Sauce had him going earlier, but if he slides a little bit, it's going to be a team in the late 20s that's just looking to snap him up. Obviously, they just signed Jadeveon Clowney, but there's one big issue with that. Clowney's not reliable. He's never been reliable, and he will most likely continue to not be reliable. He'll miss games to injuries or because he damn well pleases. So that's why you got a guy like Azeez who can stretch the field and be a dominant force opposite to Myles Garrett.
Yeah. Jadeveon Clowney. They also brought in Jack McKinley, but you don't know what you can get out of those guys. I got him going linebacker, Nick Bolton. Talented. I mean, Anthony Walker's their number one right now. And they don't have many needs. I love their secondary. I mean, they got John Johnson, great corners. Obviously the offensive line I think is best in the league. I think you go Nick Bolton, bolts up the linebacker room.
I have them taking a linebacker too, Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah, Notre Dame. Let's go. He's obviously great in coverage. He's pretty much a safety at a linebacker size. And he had like the second highest slot coverage grade from PFF last year as a linebacker. And again, the Browns aren't a needy team, but Koramoah pretty much slots right into their team and becomes a day one starter at linebacker.
Yeah, all solid picks there. Now we got number 27, the Baltimore Ravens. They're a team that, to me, could use that big body wide receiver to line up to the outside or to the opposite side of Hollywood Brown. And so you got two guys on the board right now that fit that criteria, Rashad Bateman and Terrace Marshall. Terrace Marshall has some injury concerns, So I think that they're going to go with Bateman. I don't like the pick. I think that Terrace Marshall is clearly the better player, but this is what I think is going to happen. Bateman, as previously mentioned, is a big-bodied dude. He can go up and get the jump ball. He's a good route runner, solid hands, and he'll be a freak on the outside for any team that drafts him.
Yeah, I have them going
Ravens.
Kadarius
Oh.
Toney. My bad sauce, but
There you
I think he's kind of a similar player to Hollywood Jackson or Hollywood Brown. Ugh, that was bad. But I think since all like the top receivers in my mock draft are taken off the board, it's kind of like a bad pick. But they're going for a need here in receiver, and Kadarius Toney is, in my opinion, the best receiver on the board at 27 for them.
Yeah, I got him going Kadarius Toney as well. I mean, you can do so much with him. I've seen some of his Florida highlights. I mean, his speed, after the ball. I mean, I feel like there's a couple of those receivers. Rondell Moore also can do that well. And obviously they have Marquise Brown, one of those small speed receivers as well, but he's been inconsistent. He drops a lot. So you get, speedy receiver, Kadarius Toney. I like that pick.
All right, number 28. Why don't you give us the first pick, Garrett, since you're the Saints
Well, I
fan?
had the Saints trading off 21 to get Caleb Farley, but I
Forgot
could give
about
you
that.
my Colts pick at 28, which is Elijah Moore.
Go ahead.
They need someone. They don't really have a good receiver on their team. They have Carson Wentz that just got traded to them. They have Michael Pittman, Micah's brother. And yeah, I think Elijah Moore is obviously a great shifty receiver, kind of a Kadarius Toney, Rondale Moore type on the smaller side, but that might be a little of a concern. But he's very fast. He ran in the 4.2s, I believe. Oh, I forgot about T.Y. Hilton. But I think he's on the downfall. T.Y. Hilton.
Down. Yeah.
But yeah, Elijah Moore.
I mean, I just can't see him going receiver, especially with all the young receivers they have. Harris, Campbell, Michael Pittman. I could go also have another guy they like. I mean, obviously they have T.Y. Hilton as well. And they could go receiver. I have them going. Oh wait, I'm at the Saints, right? Yeah. Zaven Collins, linebacker, Tulsa. I think if I'm literally looking at the depth chart right now. Andrew Dull is your number one middle linebacker. I guess Anzalone's gone.
Good. Yeah, Anzalone went to
and
the
Anzalone,
Colts,
I mean, watching the Saints-Bucks, that divisional game.
You can't cover anyone.
The way they were going up the middle, it was.
You couldn't cover freaking Leonard Fournette on a.
Yeah, they could not. That was playoff Lenny. So I think Lenny. You got to protect the middle there. Next to Demario Davis, you go Zaven Collins.
And let me go ahead and agree with you. I really like Zaven Collins. Unfortunately, he didn't have the most competition in college, so he's not going to get too much buzz. But if you saw him on the field, he is dominant. And he's going to be great in coverage for any team that drafts him. But for the Saints, like I said, they lost Anzalone this offseason. They're going to need a guy that can come in and fill in that position, and that's exactly who Zaven Collins is. And number 30, the Buffalo Bills.
29.
Bills Mafia. Oh, it's 29. That's my bad. 29 to the Green Bay Packers. I have Green Bay reaching on a cornerback and going with Kelvin Joseph out of Kentucky. This was a guy who I originally saw mocked to Houston after a Miami trade for Matt Miller. And I looked a bit into him. I was impressed with what I saw. Not nearly enough for a first-round pick, but they are in desperate need of a cornerback. And I don't see a wide receiver that you could realistically draft in the first round who fits next to Devontae Adams. So you got to go with the next best cornerback and go with a guy like Kelvin Joseph.
I do think they go receiver, Rondell Moore, the GOAT of Madden franchise. Let me just say that. Garrett might know a little about that. Oh, yeah. Rondell Moore, speedy. I think they could use speed. I actually like Valdez Hill. I know he can be inconsistent. I think he's good. Lazard, same. I mean, Devontae Adams, best receiver. Top 3 for me. But you get a speedy guy that Rodgers can use after the pass. I don't think they reach on it. This could be considered a reach. But you got to get a weapon, man. That's good.
Yeah. I have them taking Asante Samuel. He's very fluid, and he has quick feet, but he's a little small. And obviously, he has a dad that was in the NFL. Asante Samuel played for the Eagles. People think he might be a nickel option. I'm reading his scouting report right now, but people might think he's a nickel option. But the Packers honestly just need a cornerback because Kevin King isn't it. Aside from Jair.
Yeah, King could be decent. My issues more lie with they don't have
Oh,
like a
man.
solid number 2 option. I mean, King is a decent either slot or like nickel guy, but he's just if you put him at a number 2, he kind of struggles. And now we
you
got
saw in the championship game, like
oh
man
yeah,
to
he
man,
got torched.
He struggles.
Yeah, he got torched.
Scouting.
And now we got number 30. Kind of jumped the gun on that one, but I have Buffalo, the Bills Mafia, going with Kwity Paye. This is a guy who we already mentioned, unbelievable athlete. And for the Bills, you're just looking for depth at this point. And he's a guy that's going to be incredibly raw because he often relies on his athleticism to get past guys. But he can line up as a 3 tech. He can line up outside. And he really can stretch the field and be a solid option in the pass rush.
So this one, you guys actually had him already going like pretty much a lot higher. Jalen Phillips, Miami. You guys all had edge, but he went a lot earlier. I'm surprised I didn't see him in a lot of the mocks that I looked at. I didn't see him in the top. I think I saw him like one time in the top 20, early 20s. But Jalen Phillips, edge help, maybe can be something great for the Bills.
I have him taking
They're
the
not
best
really an
player
easy team.
available here.
So.
Yeah. I have him taking best player available because they don't have much needs, and that's Christian Barmore. He's slid very far down my board. And again, that's not really like a immediate impact player, but it's just best player available kind of. And yeah, his character concerns, coachability kind of made him fall in my mock. And yeah, the Bills pick him up.
And number 31, Baltimore, because of the Kansas City trade. They do need a defensive lineman, specifically a defensive edge. And so I got them going with the Penn State guy, Jason Owe. Owe, again, a ridiculous athlete, one who reminds me of an outside linebacker that can kind of play down and play either 3 tech or outside. And so that's what they need because they just lost Judon. And with their defensive scheme, they're going to need a guy that can line up to the outside and rush the passer.
Yeah, like that. But I think they go Alex Leatherwood. You guys had him. Medwards had him a lot earlier.
Yeah.
Great run blocker. That's what I've seen. And obviously the Ravens. That's their thing. They run the ball. And obviously the loss of Orlando Brown. That just makes sense that they can move him, play him at guard, and just in their run scheme, just be killer for them.
I have them taking an edge like Matt Medwards did, and I have them taking Azeez Ojulari. You guys had him mocked a lot higher. I think the Ravens obviously need an edge. They don't really have anyone that good on their team right now. Like Jerry Hughes and Mario Addison's pretty good, but I think he's, again, like one of the better players on the board at 31. He could definitely go inside the top 25, top 20. And yeah, it's a great pick for them at 31.
And we got the final pick of the first round now, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Another team that don't seem to have a lot of glaring needs. So I went with a guy that I quite like out of Texas. His name is Joseph Osai. I remember watching Osai in Bedlam last year, and he was unbelievable. He was all over the field, rushing the passer. He made a few plays in pass coverage, and that made me fall in love with him initially. He had a really great senior, or I believe that this was his senior year, but I could be wrong about that. And he's made his way into the first round of a lot of mock drafts. He's a junior, so he had a really good junior year, and he made his way into the first round of a lot of mock drafts. He could slide to the second round. I've seen some mocks that have him sliding to the third round, but to me, it makes sense for the Buccaneers to go with the best pass rusher available, and that is Joseph Osai.
Yep, same. Not a team with glaring needs. I have them going Osai as well. I could even see them. I could see a team trading here, maybe trying to get a quarterback. Maybe the Steelers traded, or the Texans. No, not the Texans. Another team get a quarterback here, but I have them going Osai as well out of Texas. They could use. Maybe they could take another edge. But their pass rush, as we know, was killer in the Super Bowl against that Chiefs O-line. So not a team with much needs. But Osai.
They don't have much needs. I have them taking Javon Holland. PFF has him as a cornerback, but quite honestly, he's obviously a safety. And again, just a depth pick here, but he's obviously very talented. He could get some playing time and kind of improve their defense when he's on the field. Maybe they're not that high on like Jordan Whitehead, who plays free safety for them. Maybe he gets some playing time there. But yeah, Javon Holland.
And that concludes the first round of our mock drafts. What are you guys hoping to get on these mock drafts? I'm hoping to get at least 10 right. That would be a
Something
really
like that,
solid
yeah.
mock draft
I
for
mean,
me.
for me, like the draft kind of starts. I mean, it kind of starts at 3,
Yeah.
and 4 as well. I think was one of the first non-QB goes. I could be wrong.
Oh, yeah.
But obviously the 49ers could take Jones or Trey Lance. I think that's when it starts. I think everyone thinks that, and then the board, like teams are gonna know, and then trade up, trade down based on how the board falls. So
Yeah,
it
and
all depends on
obviously-
like Falcons, Niners.
Right. And obviously, Saz and I did no trade mock, so that's going to – that'll be blown up by probably pick 10.
Yeah.
But
Exactly.
let's wrap this up and let's give everybody our second and third round sleepers for the draft. I've expressed mine on previous podcasts. I really like Terrace Marshall, but I got another guy who has been slipping on draft boards, and I really do not understand why. And he is Deontay Brown, guard out of Alabama. This is a guy who allowed not a single sack in college, and for some inexplicable reason has been slipping into third and fourth round grades on some mock drafts. I understand that he's had the best offensive line surrounding him. I understand that he's had guys like Leatherwood and Dickerson to his left and right. But to me, it doesn't make sense that a guy who has not allowed a single sack in college, who has kept his quarterback's jersey clean, to slide beyond the second round.
I have Josh Palmer out of Tennessee, I believe, as my sleeper for the second and third round. If you watched his pro day, he was kind of routing people up, some of the top cornerbacks. And yeah, Josh Palmer. Yeah.
Well, I'm gonna go with
Yeah.
QB here. Have you guys seen Chris Hibbs' QB rankings? I know they're always crazy every year, but he gets it he gets it right most of the time. He has Kellen Mond 3, I think. Kellen Mond, a sleeper. I think he could go top second. He could go third round. Everyone's kind of looking for that guy, who can play out of the pocket. He can do that. He's big, talented. Another guy, Jamie Newman, Georgia. Didn't play too much, but I think those QBs. There's a lot of the second-tier QBs I bet a lot of teams are looking at because they want to see what they can get. And a lot of maybe the Bears, the football teams that are a little later can take one of them.
And keep an eye on Kellen Mond. Saz is exactly right. I've heard from a lot of my friends that Houston might potentially try and snap him up at 67, but that all depends on if they're feeling confident with Deshaun Watson. Now, this is very, very important because we don't know how the draft is going to go, but we trust our guys to give us the best information possible. And those guys are at Hybrid Football Scouting, our best friends. A good friend of mine runs that company, and they're just awesome. The brightest minds in football scouting, and they are just the complete package deal when it comes to analysis and mock drafts. So head over to their website at Hybrid Football Scouting. Follow them on TikTok and Instagram at Hybrid Football Scouting, and go show them some love because they're friends of ours and they're help supporting the podcast. All right, now let's wrap things up. Thank you for listening to Ranting with Controversy. I'm Ranting with Controversy Eds with my colleagues.
Ranting with Controversy, Garrett.
RWC Saz.
Go follow us on Twitter at RWC Pod. Follow us on Instagram at RWC Pod, and subscribe to our YouTube. Thanks, guys.